Welcome to the Transformation Institute's podcast for change. Here is our host, OMARI JAHI Aton.
Hey, welcome to the Transformation Institute podcast for change. I'm your host, OMARI JAHI, along with my co-host, Miss Darlene, and my brother Vmont in the building. I think Vanessa, she's trying to sign on, so she'll probably be here in a minute or two. But our conversation for tonight is dealing with accountability, y'all. What does true accountability look like? You know, a lot of people, I guess you can look at accountability in a lot of different ways. I guess my question, I can start off asking you guys, what is accountability to you, Darlene? When somebody say, if somebody would say, people aren't being accountable, what is that saying to you? What does that say?
Taking ownership of mistakes or some action or behavior, words, and taking accountability is like, I think that not only do you admit or confess out your mouth, or letter, whatever way of communication that you admit to doing something that you're saying it was your fault or you're responsibility, but actually following up with some kind of action, though, not just saying it. A lot of times I think we say stuff like my bad, my fault, but we don't do nothing about it. We just say my bad, my fault,
Yeah, and that's a form of accountability. Yeah, just saying my bad.
Yeah,
but a lot of people don't even go into my bad. They make excuses. What do you think, V?
Man, Darlene took the words right out of my mouth. But I think accountability, man, is just really just looking in the mirror and just admitting to yourself, certain things that if you want to change something, change your life, things like that, you have to be accountable for things, to do things that will change your life, something like that.
Right.
But yeah, that's what accountability is for me.
Okay. Well, I found this video on I don't know, where was that? YouTube? No, I think it was on YouTube. Yeah. And so I want to play it. You guys tell me what you think about it after you hear it. Check it out.
You step up and say, damn, this situation keep happening. It showed up in work. It showed up in my friendships. It showed up in my relationships. At what point do you hold yourself accountable and say, maybe there is a few things I need to work on within myself?
Whenever you step out of the victim mentality, that's when you can hold yourself accountable.
And I think because of social media, we just be deep diving in the victim mentality, finding the memes that fit our situation, posting, and making it make sense, knowing you on some.
Because what people do, and that's what we talked about the last time, what people do, especially when it comes to social media, is that they look for somebody to sympathize for their pain so they can validate their pain.
Absolutely.
And so it's really hard for you to point the finger at yourself, because if you can point at everybody else, and you can get everybody else to point the finger as well, and now you feel like you have a team of validation behind you rather than just calling yourself out.
So these ladies was landed. They saying a lot of people are living in a world of victimization, or as a victim, and because everything happens they seem to be the victim, then they can't be accountable for the mistakes that they make in their lives. And that's kind of what we're talking about today, basically. Why aren't people being accountable? I would assume that it's because most people are just holding on. I think I had this conversation before. I can't remember who I was talking to, but it's like people have to have a reason to get up in the morning, and a lot of times if when things happen in their life and they making all these different mistakes, the only way to keep from snapping out and probably even getting to a point of committing suicide is not holding yourself accountable for anything. I'm gonna give you an example of what I'm talking about. Here's some people got some comments. Oh, I guess they're just saying, huh? Queen. Yeah, hey Queen, she totally agree. And she says, what is else? She says easily offended when no accountability and prideful. When people are prideful, they're not accountable for their actions and things of that nature. And I agree with that, Queen. But I wanted to share this story with you guys. You know, where is it? I got it here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Now, this is this guy named Alex. Say he lives in a world where he was perpetually blameless. It was a reflex as natural as breathing. When he missed a major work deadline, he explained to his manager. The initial instructions were really unclear, so I had to wait for clarification. He conveniently omitted that he had the instructions for 2 weeks and only asked for clarification the day before the thing was due. His manager sighed and reassigned the urgent part. So here's a guy that was assigned a project. He drug his feet, he procrastinated, and the day before the project was due, he asked for clarification after having it for 2 weeks. And so he tried to blame the fact that the project was late on the fact that it wasn't clear, instead of on the fact that he drug his feet for 2 weeks. You see, that's what he procrastinated. And that's a very clear case of a person not being accountable for their actions. He couldn't just say, and probably the reason he wasn't going to say, hey, I procrastinated for 2 weeks and I dropped the ball, because he probably was going to get fired. What you all think?
Well, I think growth. I think growth, and I think I said it on the last show, seasons. I think as a child, it's very hard to take accountability as you're growing. Your parents may say something. Somebody may say, hey, why did you do that? I ain't do nothing. That'd be the first thing come out your reaction is I ain't did nothing. I'm the victim.
Right. Yes.
I think as we go on, we get older, we just like the video said, we don't sometimes want to look ourselves in the mirror. We can easily believe our lie. We can lie to ourselves. And it's hard to take accountability of you lying to yourself. People do it spiritually. Sometimes people take quotes or scriptures and they make it fit for their life or their action. They make it justified. We try to so it's hard to take accountability when you live in a bubble where you want everything to be justified or an excuse for your behavior, your action. And taking accountability, I think taking accountability with no action behind it is like saying my fault, saying I am the one to blame. Yes, I did you wrong, or yes, I should have been more involved in the community. Oh, yeah, but you ain't doing anything about it. It's still, I think accountability need action behind it, not just the word.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Oh, go ahead, B. I'm sorry.
No. I was just going to just as far as what y'all was saying. I was going to say two things. What comes to mind for me is two things that many of us are afraid of when it comes to accountability. We're afraid of change. Number one, because we're taking accountability, you have to change, and also we're afraid of being wrong. Nobody wants to be wrong in anything at any time. I was just touching on this the other day on you know what I'm saying, on my little videos and stuff I do. I'm talking about how people just don't want to admit when they're wrong. And so when you have those two main things like that, it's hard for people to take accountability because they don't want to admit that, oh, I'm wrong at something, or I need to change this, because these are two great things that people are just afraid of. Many of us. Yeah,
I mean, and you're 100% correct. But you know, it's so weird because when it's reversed, if if you are the person that's being done wrong, you can identify not being accountable, when the shoe is on the other foot. So and so did me wrong, and they act like they didn't do nothing. But if you one that is not being accountable, and somebody points it out to you, we make all kind of excuses. Like the guy, he tried to make the excuse that he missed the deadline because the instructions wasn't clear. He made an excuse to try to cover up the fact that he just procrastinated, didn't do what he was supposed to do, and in our reality, he should get fired, because he missed the deadline, which was probably an important deadline. You see what I'm saying? And so, how do we? I mean, is this a psychological thing? I mean, I know V, you hit it on the head when you said people don't want to be wrong, but we know everybody ain't perfect. We all know that nobody's perfect, So if we understand that we're not perfect, then how come we can't admit when we make a mistake? What is with that? Why can't we admit when we make mistakes?
Man, maybe because I think a lot of us, when we come up as youngins, and maybe some of us that got blamed a lot for a lot of things, accused of a lot of things and stuff. And I just think people are so afraid of like not, wanting to trying to be perfect, knowing we're not perfect, but gonna keep trying to be perfect anyway. And I think it just comes a lot down to the childhood thing. I think it goes back, this almost sounds like the first conversation I ever had with y'all when I came on here. I forget what you called it. I had to go back in my notes and look at it, but just, healing that inner child type deal.
Yeah, I remember that.
It goes all the way kind of back to that, and I think that's what the thing is. That's why people still, we call ourselves wanting to be perfect, because we maybe we got blamed for a lot of things when we were younger and stuff and all that. So,
Hey, Vanessa, welcome to the show.
That's my guess.
Hey,
We were talking about
I was having some technical difficulties.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So we were discussing the definition of accountability, and we kind of came to the conclusion that, and V was stating that a lot of people just don't want to be wrong. And we were talking about how people want to perceive themselves as victims and things of that nature. And as a victim, everybody's supposed to look at your situation as, oh, well, whatever they did or whatever choices they made, it's excused, because you're a victim in this situation, And so I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that, about accountability and why you think people don't want to be wrong. And we understand that nobody's perfect, but what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think a lot of times, sometimes we don't know we're wrong. And I think with that, sometimes it goes back to how we perceive our thoughts versus others' thoughts. Usually some of us think that we're right about everything and everyone's wrong. And sometimes we don't believe that we have to be accountable to others, because again, it's about how we perceive whatever the issue is. I think if we have a better understanding of our actions and how we behave and how it affects others, we do better and know that everything is about all the individuals involved and not just self. And I think for us to talk about accountability, we definitely have to learn what our role is in everything that we do, and that we are truly needing to be held accountable for our actions, as well as help others become accountable for theirs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I would just want to say, I also think what V was saying about the childhood, the inner child. If you can remember, like we taking a test, and how many answers do you get correct, and what's the consequences of being wrong? So if it's a scare or fear or disappointment, what's going to be the consequence if I'm wrong? What's going to be the change? What's I'm going to have to pay? What price I'm going to have to pay to be wrong? So I think sometimes that's how we get caught up or not being able to see our own truth, to see that we need to take accountability because we be worrying about what's the consequences behind it or being wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
You know, before you came on, Vanessa, I had told a story about this guy named Alex, who had on his job, he had received this project that was due on a certain date, and he had the instructions for the project for 2 weeks, but the week before the project was due, he sent in a request for clarity, and then when the due date came and went, he used the excuse that, well, the reason I wasn't able to complete the project on time was because the instructions was unclear. So he didn't take accountability for the fact that he had the instructions for 2 weeks. And he waited the day before the project was due to express or to try to get what he called some clarity on the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a person not being accountable for the fact that they fumbled the ball or they the pooch, or however they say that. Now this is another part of the story. Check this out. And he says that evening, now this is the same guy, Alex. He said that evening he was 45 minutes late to meet his friend Sam for dinner. You won't believe the traffic. This is Alex. You won't believe the traffic, Alex huffed. Sliding into the booth, he just it was totally a parking lot, Alex said. Sam said, not looking up from his menu, my app says the expressway is clear. You're just late. A flash of annoyance across Alex's face. Wow. Okay, I'm just telling you what happened. You don't have to attack me. See, here's the victim thing is, again, he's saying you ain't got to attack me, man. I'm just telling you what happened. You know, and then he says, I had a super stressful day. And frankly, I don't need this kind of negativity right now. See, this is how we do. You know, this is, you know, instead of just saying, hey, I messed up. I was running late. You know, my bad. You know, I mean, people do it all the time. But instead, he got to make up all of this stuff. And then he got to throw in he had a bad day at work, you know, to also make it seem like I'm a victim here, man. I'm having a bad day. Don't beat up on me. I'm already down, you know. And so, again, these are key ways to see a person being unaccountable for their actions. But how do we fix that? Is there a way to fix it? You know, or is it just an individual that has to recognize it and fix it for themselves?
I think you just gave two good examples. So I'll deal with the friend first.
Mm-hmm.
The friend calling him on his bull was holding him accountable. Now,
Yes.
that was the thought process. If I tell you this is what I know, maybe you'll go ahead and say, oh, yeah, you're right, blah, blah, blah. But clearly, he decided not to listen to his friend and take that moment to be accountable for his actions. Now, as far as the job, if he fumbled the ball the day before and then sent an email saying, hey, this isn't clear to me, I just want some clarity, it was up to him to get that clarity before that deadline. If you know that you need clarity for something, and let's say it's 2 p.m. and 5 o'clock is when it's due, then between 2 o'clock and 4:59, if you have to call 5 million people, call 5 million people, because at the end of the day, it's still due at 5 p.m.
Exactly.
So he actually had no, Lord, I'm at a loss for words. Excuse me, my brain fog.
Justification.
He had no desire to complete that assignment. And that showed, because if you know something may take 2 weeks, the 2 weeks they've given you, and you wait till the last minute, then you know that you're going to be up all day and night busting your butt to get it done by the AM, or you just are going to lie about it like he did. And that makes him look bad, because not being able to be accountable for that particular assignment told his manager, his company, that, hey, you can't count on me to do my part. And me not being able to count on me to do my part means that all the other parts that fits into this puzzle may not come together because of my, miscommunication or lack of communication about it. So again, he had a chance. It's almost like when you're in school, when you're a kid and you know that you have an assignment due and you wait till the last minute to do it. This was me in high school a lot. If I had a paper due, I'd wait till the last minute. I always would. But I knew I was going to be up all night to get that paper in and make it appear like I had did everything I was supposed to do along the way. And sometimes you can do things, and you may mess around and take your time doing it. But if you know that it's something that's challenging, don't wait till the last minute, because like he needed clarity, things come up. And if there was no one in the office to give him the clarity he needed, now it makes him look bad. So it's all about choices. You know how to do the right thing. It's just a matter of us wanting to or not.
I really believe that he was bull jiving for 2 weeks. And at some point it kind of popped in his head. Oh man, Friday I gotta have this project in. And so he used the thing not being clear, or tried to say that it wasn't clear, as an excuse to cover up the fact that he bull jived for 2 weeks. I don't believe it wasn't clear. To be honest with you, there was no unclear message in how to produce the project and what the people were looking for. I just think he was bull jiving and procrastinating. And we do that a lot. We procrastinate. I know that there are people that are going to come on Friday to view my house. I'm selling my house because I'm moving. Not me personally. I'm just making this up. I'm selling my house, and so I procrastinate cleaning it up. And the people coming Friday at a certain time, and all of a sudden now I'm rushing around trying to get things done. And then when the people come, instead of taking accountability for the fact that I waited till the last minute, I blame my wife to the people as to why the house ain't clean. You see what I'm saying? That's another form of and it's happening all day, every day. People, you know what we call it? Throwing somebody else under the bus. That's what we do when we don't want to take accountability for the part or the role we played in the situation. We'll throw so and so under the bus. Look at them. Don't look at me.
Yeah.
So I got another question. So can this thing called accountability, can it be dealt with from an institution or society or something to that effect? Like, can society be held accountable, or can an institution like the judicial system be held accountable? You like that, huh, Vanessa? Be held accountable for their actions?
If they
They
can,
could be.
we definitely know we're going to try to make them be when we get the chance, right?
Right.
So everything we do in life, if there's a chance that we weren't held accountable, there's always the possibility that going forward, there may come a point where it goes back in time and says, well, remember when this occurred? Now we want to find out what you did or what you didn't do, and you may need to be punished for it. So
I mean, yeah. I mean, because we really got to look at this, because there's also another thing that plays a role in this thing, and it's called intent. You know, what is the person's intent when they decide not to be accountable? We kind of said it a little bit, I think, or answered it a little bit when we were saying that the person was fear. I guess fear of losing their job, or fear of being exposed as a procrastinator, maybe. You know, we were just talking about social intent, like on Facebook, when people like another person's post, and that post is degrading somebody else. I mean, is that person being held accountable on Facebook? I mean, maybe sometimes, and I think you said it, the way it's done is how you have to bust that person out, like the friend did at the dinner. You know, we're not doing that. We're not busting our friends out, our family. I think we had a show where we was talking about something about about our friends and family doing wrong. Are we supposed to tell them when they wrong? You know, we had a show on that. You know, and it's kind of in the same vein. You know, we have to expose these folks. What is this? Said something. I take your growth. Oh, it is. Notice how y'all keep comparing it's to the inner child. It takes growing up. I don't know what said mean by that. I think he was referring to what you were saying, V, about something happening to you as a child, where like what you were saying, you always being accused of doing something wrong, or not being right about this. You always messing up this and messing up that. So at some point, you have to. I mean, that thing carries over into adulthood, and you can't, or you refuse to allow yourself to be seen in that kind of light again as a grown person. But are we
I believe
really? But are we really? Go ahead, V. I'm sorry.
No, I would just say to answer that, I was just going to say that he was saying it takes I believe he was saying it takes growth. You have to grow up, and I just believe like he right, but you have to address things that happen in your childhood to truly, I believe, to truly grow up and to get to that chance to grow up. And this is why things continue to be carried over, why people don't take accountability, why we say some people don't grow up, because you haven't dealt with things then that you still carrying with you from your childhood.
Yes, but you said something about change when you said the first thing that came to you about change. And so
Right.
what I think is Vanessa gave an example about being in school, and I remember being in school and waiting the last minute to get on top of everything. I always wait to the last minute. But that went on into my adulthood. That went into my workplace. That went into my business. I wait to the last minute to do this, to get down to the nitty gritty. That same behavior came along with me into adulthood. And then eventually you make what V was talking about changes. So if you're in a childhood season, if you're in a adult season, if you're in a work season, if you're talking about the government, if you take an individual, the individual make a community, the individual make the government. So if we taking these same that we don't want to take responsibility, and we all know right from wrong, we just don't want to make no changes, or we worry
Right.
consequences. Nobody want to be wrong, like you just said. Those two things, it goes back to what B had said about change. Do you want to make a change? And do you really want to change? People say they won't change, but do they really want change? Because it's our taking responsibility
Well,
first.
you said, I mean, we all I think agree on that. We like things the way they are. We say we won't change, but we really, in our little circle, in our little world, we don't want no changes in that because we comfortable just the way things are. But now Yolanda, she said something here. She says, I'm taking accountability for myself. I can't take that for you. Now, I don't agree with that. I agree with you. You have to take responsibility for yourself. But when you expose another person, your friend or your family member, like the guy did, Sam did to his friend, when he said, I'm looking on the app and it says the expressway is open, it's clear. So it exposed him for lying. You see what I'm saying? Saying that it was a parking lot on the expressway. And so when you do stuff like that, you are helping your friend to be accountable.
But at the end of the day, wasn't he still just doing it for himself? I mean, he was saying, let me put you on blast.
Exactly.
So he's still doing, to me, where Yolanda said, taking accountability for myself. So for himself, I'm going to tell you, I don't agree with that excuse you just gave. I'm putting you on blast. I think Michael Jackson was one of the
Man in the Mirror.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Make that change. Start right there. So if the person sees if a person sees another person, always got an excuse, always trying to justify something, then that person owe to themselves to say something. Not he's owed to himself to say, oh no, I saw the traffic. No, you did this. No, you had time. So I think it's the individual actually taking accountability that they don't want to be, they're not being fooled. They won't change it. They taking accountability. I'm not accepting this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still up to the person. It's still up to the person to take that accountability. Like you could blast them all you want, but you know what I'm saying? That's not going to make them finally decide, okay, I'm gonna take accountability since you called me. Now, they still have to take. I think I get what Yolanda stand on that. She's saying like I could take accountability for me and make sure I take accountability on things I'm doing and what I need to do. And but even though I might expose you on something and like telling you, hey, you ain't being accountable. You can't make somebody be accountable. They have to decide when they're going to decide when they're going to be accountable. And they may never be accountable. You got people out here never been accountable for anything in their life, ain't gonna be.
But if you take accountable for yourself, though, you would not allow yourself to continue to let them excuses bypass you. You're gonna take accountability that, hey, I'm not messing with so and so. I'm not hearing that excuse. You fire or we no longer friends. Whatever it takes, you're gonna take some action, accountability for yourself.
That's very interesting. It sounds a lot like addiction. You know how an addict, you can tell an addict you need to get some help. You're an alcoholic or whatever. Man, and the alcoholic, until they decide for themselves that they need help, or I think the term is until they hit rock bottom. You see what I'm saying? And they decide to go get some help for themselves, then they like I guess Yolanda said, you can only take accountability for yourself. You can only say, hey, I drink too much. I need to stop. I need to slow down, or I need to go get some help. Only you can say that. You can't make another person say that for themselves. You got people on drugs all day walking up and down the street and you want to help them. And the law says that you can't if you know a person's a crackhead and this, that, and another, you can't force them to go to rehab. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they have to want to go for themselves, and that's kind of weird to me, because you would think if you want to help, if a person needs help, it's almost like dealing with the police, how they enforce the law. If a person runs a street light and runs a red light, if that same law that they have to realize that they broke the law before you can enforce or do something to help them. You know, to me that law doesn't make sense. You know, when it comes to addiction, you know, you have to decide that you are sick before we can help you. But if you break the law, I don't care whether you knew you broke the law or not, agreed with breaking the law or not, we gonna lock them. You know, that's kind of weird to me.
Well, isn't it with addiction that if a person stop enabling someone, or a person they stop getting away with something, eventually they back get against the wall that they ask for help. They 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 won't help when things is not, when other people
Mhm.
stop playing around and they get out of their way and let them fall whatever way they got to fall, in order to recognize that they won't change. They won't change.
Sometimes.
I mean, and that's the same thing that we're talking about now, accountability. You know, you can't make a person be accountable. It's like a drug addict. You know, you can't make a drug addict accept the fact that they have a problem and they're a drug addict or alcoholic or a sex addict or a person that eats too much. All of these addictions, you can't make these people recognize that, no more than a person that's not being
But
accountable
your
for
action
themselves.
towards it can help in a way that if you do not do certain things or do not accept certain things, you make it uncomfortable, that eventually someone's going to want to change. When they can't get no money, if they can't get whatever, if if it wasn't no source, something's going to happen to them. It's going to be a reaction. If the person take accountability to say, hey, I'm not dancing with that. I'm not going to help you out. I'm not going to give you no money to go buy no drugs. I'm not going to give you no money to buy. I'm not going to buy you a drink. So
Right?
eventually, it's going to be a reaction from that action.
And if we look at that, what's normally the reaction? They resort to crime. They'll go rob somebody. They go. You kind of see what I'm saying, or because that's the extreme version, right? Or they might say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh man, I I I never I would never imagine myself being this low to where I would do stuff like this, you know, or even prostitute yourself just to get a hit or something like that. You know, you can stoop so low when you say, "Man, I got to get me some help," and then they come to you say, "Hey, help me, can you help me get into rehab and this and that and another?" And we'll be happy because they've made that decision. You know, they've come to that conclusion that I need help. The only thing we can do with people that aren't accountable is like the friend did at the table, expose them, bust them out, and then that busting them out is either going to make them say, "Oh man, damn, you right, I got to do better," and this and that and another, or they'll do like the guy did at the table, try to make you look like you Mr. Wrong and Mr. Bad person. You attacking me. I didn't come here to get attacked. I'm a victim. I had a bad day and all I'm getting is this crap from you.
You know, Yolanda just said something that makes a lot of sense too, dealing with addiction and accountability. That's not their decision. Some addicts don't want help. And in those cases, like you said, maybe sometimes they will go the right way and ask for help after they hit bottom, and sometimes they won't. So, how you were just saying, if you want to do better, then you're going to, after a while, when people start saying no and all the doors are closing, maybe you'll change. For some that won't, Usually the same people that said, hey, they have to want help for us to take them, now they're forced to get help when they're incarcerated because the police were like, yeah, okay, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. So now you're doing this and now you're in jail. So now you have a chance to say, hey, I want help and we can put you in a program, or you can keep doing this and we'll just keep arresting you and we'll see where that ends. But what about even if they say, hey, I'll go to this rehab to avoid jail time, and then they go just to do that, but they still don't take accountability because as soon as they get out, they're back on drugs because it was never their intent to be accountable for that and to get the true help they needed. They just wanted to avoid going to jail. So as soon as I get through these doors, I'm going back to get high. And that's
that
almost
happens a
like
lot.
the guy. You know, I
Yeah.
lied about traffic, but now you caught me out on it. I'm just going to get mad and you going to get over it and I'm going about my way.
Yeah, but I don't know. To me, it just seems
So
as
it's
if
a self thing. If you want to take accountability, it has to come from deep inside. You know, it's the way you're going to process things. I'm going to quit playing around. I'm going to stand up and be real to myself, be real to the people around me. I'm going to stop lying about what I did or what I'm doing because it's not helping the situation, it's only hurting it. If you don't come to any of those decisions, then you aren't going to take accountability. Now, if I know that, if I know I'm lying and Darlene knows I'm lying, if Darlene says, you know what, Vanessa, I'm so sick of this. You keep saying this, but until you do this, I don't want to deal with this. Then it's up to me to decide if my being around Darlene or having her around me or our friendship or whatever is what is important to me. I'm going to make some decisions. I'm going to either do what I need to do to rectify the situation, or I'm going to be like, okay, another one bites the dust.
right.
So at the end of the day, it's still what I want out of it. And no one, like Yolanda said, could make you accountable but yourself.
Well, let me ask you this. Solutions. What do you all think about? Because I've been involved a couple of times in what they call group circles, where you they usually be they could be all men, all women, you know, and they get together, they sit in the circle, and they just talk about life and things that's going on in their lives and things of that nature. And people kind of in those environments, they kind of come clean about what they're dealing with in life. Do you guys could you see that because as some form of therapy for people that may be in those kind of addictive mindsets, some kind of group therapy or group
Most
meetings?
definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. That I think that definitely helps. And I think it's definitely something healing for people, because I think that just helps to talk with other people who are going through the same things you're going through.
Exactly.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? I mean, I think that's just key. I think that's key. You know, I mean, we could definitely do it by ourselves, or we that strong, but a lot of times we need help, and I think that's just the purpose for many of us being here anyway. I mean, it's a gang of us for a reason, right? It ain't just a couple of people walking the earth. It's billions of people, right? So I think everybody needs to find their people when you're going through something. It definitely helps to talk with others that's going through what you're going through. Most certainly.
Man, yes, I agree 1,000%. You know, I've been, like I said, I've been involved, and they usually call them men's circle. I've been involved in about 4 or 5 men circles, you know, where a lot of times we come together and we talk about uh, uh, some of the challenges that we're having in life and things of that nature, you know, and it's therapeutic, you know. I believe it is, and maybe because you know they do the same thing with Alcoholic Anonymous and for drug addicts, you know, they have these meetings that they go to and they have to talk about what they're feeling and what they're going through. So I'm thinking that why can't we, yes, group circles, yes. Why can't we set up stuff like that in the community? You know, a weekly basis or something, you know, if people are doing grants, you know, why can't we get funding to have group circles so that people can come and talk about these kind of things and get it off their chest and kind of help them to overcome some of these addictive tendencies that we seem to be having.
But you
Well,
still
you know, I agree. Group circles do help, and like Yolanda said, those are more support groups. But I believe that for some, they still aren't going to get there until maybe we do something to hold them accountable as like interventions, and not just with addictions, but anything that you see people like really going deep diving into that's unhealthy for them. For some people, it may be drug related. For some, it may be mentally related, socially related. It's all about us caring for ourselves as well as others. Before we get to the group circle, we may have to pull interventions with people. Hey, look, what you're doing is very toxic, and we all love you, and we're thinking that you should seek blah blah blah, or you should seek help, or you should maybe look into counseling, or whatever you have to do, or maybe you should do this or that. But we have to maybe sometimes approach these people and say, hey, we as a whole love you, and this is what we think would benefit you, because we see these patterns and we see these cycles, and you're a little out of control now. And then they start dealing with what they're saying, and then they dive into the group circles or the group therapy or just individual therapy. But again, at the end of the day, it's something that they have to want, and accountability is based on what you want to do for you and how you want to affect your situation and others around you. Because if I act a fool all the time around my loved ones, I love you all, but I'm acting a fool everywhere we go and everything we do. Now you don't want to be around me, and I feel some kind of way about that. But until I get myself together and stop acting a fool, what are you all gonna do?
Well, again, that's why I suggest, you know,
No, I think he's
and
frozen.
we said this, was that last week? Getting more involved in the solution. You know,
Mhm.
I know a lot of churches, they have NA meetings and AA meetings and things of that nature. You know, how come we can't have just a regular A meeting, a meeting for all addicts? You know what I'm saying? Whether you
Yeah.
whether you know, narcotics, alcohol, sex, whatever it is, everybody just coming in. We all just you know, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or something to that effect. Some place where people
Well,
can come and feel safe and having a conversation about what they're going through among other people that's going through the same thing. And then you know what would come out of that? They'll begin to see that they ain't the only one going through stuff.
Hmm. You
A
know,
lot of times,
all these things are good.
yeah.
I think with that one, that sounds like a great idea, but it's almost like when there's different sections of religion or different levels of anything. One group always feels like the other group is worse than them, or I'm better.
Mhm.
Our group is better than this group. So if you're saying for people who may have an addiction to one thing, they might think that their addiction isn't as bad as the people that's addicted to this. So it becomes one of like, well, I don't know why you here, because clearly I'm not as bad as you are. And it's crazy because, like you said, at the end of the day, we're all addicted to something, and we could all help one another. But again, because it's this, it's always this, or no, I'm not as bad as that, or no, that's worse off than, until we get those type of thoughts out of our head and really say, hey, we're all here to help each other with whatever problems, it's always going to be an issue.
Yes, and I think what Yolanda has said, had made that post about taking accountability self first. And if I know I want to be a better person, if I know I want to grow, and if my loved ones feel the same way, we're gonna do a little searching. We're supposed to say that anything gonna happen overnight, but it just to say I'm gonna take accountability that I want to be a better person. My community can be better. My family could be better by me just making a change, just me acknowledgement. Even if you're going into a group section, you basically just taking acknowledgement or looking for knowledge to help or support to help make a change. But just that self accountability that you want to make a change, you want to be a better version of you. And even if an addict or someone who's a liar, whatever they sin may be, or whatever their addiction may be, or whatever their issue may be, even if they just saw you making a change, that may be just enough to motivate them that they want to take accountability and make a change themselves.
Yeah.
I still say go back to what your mom has said about taking accountability for yourself first.
Yeah. But again, I still think a lot of times people need help. Like the friend at the table, if the friend never bust that guy out about lying about the reason why he was late, then that person would continue to go on thinking that they can get away with lying and procrastination and all of that stuff, and ain't nobody gonna say nothing about it. We have to shine a light on the wrong that people are doing, and then have an outlet for them. That's why I'm saying it's one thing to say you're an alcoholic. You know what I'm saying? It's another thing to say, hey, I got a way for you to help you, to not be an alcoholic. I got this for you. Or it's one thing to say you're a drug dealer and you need to stop selling drugs, but I ain't got nothing else for you to make money to feed you and your family. See, it's a total different thing. You can't only just point out the wrong, but you got to also have a solution to the problem. And this is why I was saying I'm thinking that having a what they call a circle group or whatever it is as a solution, something that goes on the weekend. You can say, hey, I want to invite you to our circle on Mondays. Come out. You ain't even got to say nothing. Just come out and just listen to what everybody else is saying, and you'll see that you ain't alone in this fight. Because that's really what it is. It's a fight.
But like the master said though, but if you sit up there in a group and you got a general group and you got liars over here and you got some a thief and you got some over here a murder and you got some over here addicted to alcohol, when people gonna start measuring their issue, is everybody gonna be able to get help with that general? If they start judging?
Yeah. That's the job of the facilitator. Whoever is facilitating this meeting, it's their job to show everybody in that room that everybody's on the same operating plane. We all have issues, and your issue is not no worse or better than my issue, simply because all of it is sin. And they say all have sinned and fallen short. So I've had an alcoholic. I've seen this myself personally. An alcoholic say, look at that crackhead over there. That don't make no damn sense. That damn crackhead over there, he do anything to get a hit. And then he pull his wine bottle out of his pocket and take a hit of the wine and everything after talking about the crackhead. So he think he better than the crackhead. You see what I'm saying? but they both addict. They both have addictions, and the thing is that there was those things that we do, whether it's unaccountability. V hit it earlier, and this is my closing thought because we into our closing thoughts now. This is my closing thought. If we are all on the same plane, and it starts from some, whether it's childhood or young adulthood, wherever that trauma was inflicted upon us, whereas we had to use these things as mechanisms for numbing the pain. And that's basically what it is. People drink so they don't have to deal with the pain that they're going through in their life. People get high. People have sex. People eat too much. All of these things. People aren't accountable for their actions because they don't want to be have to deal with the pain that comes from being accountable. So if we can help people to see that it's all the common denominator in all our problems is pain, and then let's talk about pain now. Let's not talk about the effect. Let's talk about the cause. The cause is pain. I see you, Darlene. You see how that worked in? Me and Darlene been talking about cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the cause, not the effect. The cause is pain. And if everybody could understand and recognize that it's the pain that we go through in our lives that's causing the challenges that we deal with, drinking, eating, all sex, over-sexing, and all that crap. If we can see that, then we can see our one even plane, and I think we can come to a conclusion as to how to solve the problem. That's my closing thought.
Okay, my closing thought is never too late for change. Just try. Let's just try to do something different to each and every. Let's just try. It's never too late.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any closing thoughts?
Well, my closing thought, I guess, would be if you know better, do better.
Mm-hmm.
That's the start to accountability. I know I'm a mess. I have to do something about my mess.
Yeah.
Hey, the start of a great life, take accountability. You want a great life, got to take accountability for some things.
Most definitely. I'm going to find a church. I already got one in mind that I'm going to start this circle, and we're going to have some discussions. I wonder if I could, no, I probably can't do it online because I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that and see what we can do, because I believe that's a great help. That's a tool that we can use in order to help people. And that's what we want to do. We want people to change. That's a tool.
Well, you could do it online because people don't have to show their faces if that's what they're afraid of. And I think Brenda kind of touched on it. She was saying that some people are afraid to talk in the group circles because they're afraid of how they'll be viewed or how people, take their information. So if you did it online, you definitely could have people just put blank profile pictures up, they don't have to share their screens, or they could put their name, Anonymous X, or, whoever, until they're comfortable to show their faces.
That's interesting. So that sounds like something like a Zoom.
Yeah.
Because I know on Zoom, you can have 100 people on there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, you can type how you want your name to appear. So if I want to be anonymous 22, I could be Anonymous 22. And I could show my face, or I don't have to.
Yeah. Or you can have an avatar.
That's the thing about online. You can be whoever you want to be, but then you just hope that people are going to be genuinely themselves there, even if they don't want to show who they are.
That's pretty good. Yeah, you're right. I agree. That's my wife, y'all.
I was laughing when I saw her respond.
That's my wife. Yep. That's her addiction. She shop too damn much.
Yeah, so
I
see,
agree.
Yolanda could come on and say that in group therapy and hide her face and be yo-yo. Yo-yo that shops too much.
Most definitely. All right. Well, I thank everybody for being on. Yolanda, Brenda. I know Brenda's again is kind of under the weather, so we hope you get better soon, Brenda. Kim, she's going through a
Well,
thing
we
in
had
her
two
life as
Yolandas
well.
on tonight.
You're right. Yolanda.
Yolanda
I'm
1
say,
and Yolanda 2.
no, I'm gonna say Bam. Forget that. I'm just say Bam and Yolanda.
Well, Bam and Yolanda. Peaches.
Right.
Say it.
Sid was on here. Tyshonda.
Kiki.
Yep. Who else we have on here tonight? Sid. Yep. I think that was about it. Oh, Quee. Yeah, Quee was on here. Thank you all for being on here. Until next week. Again, continue to think for a change, guys. We love y'all. We out.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks for supporting our podcast. We look forward to see you next Thursday at 8 p.m. We also ask that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. The more subscribers we have, the more YouTube will push our podcast to more viewers. But until then, subscribe also for a peaceful mind. Your activity will reflect that peace.